All right, we are live. Hi, everyone. Hi. I'm Kaylee, and welcome to my channel. Welcome, William, who is our first commenter of the night. And I'm joined tonight to talk about the 2012 movie Avengers, which is the first Avengers, and it's a throwback because I'm a new Marvel fan. I'm just now getting with the times. My friend Cassidy, that's down here below me, she tried way back in the day to get me on the ship there, but it took me almost 10 years. So here I am, though, finally getting on board. Over here, already looking bored, is Morgan. So Morgan is from the channel Teaching Disney. I'm glad to have you. Go ahead, Morgan. Tell us a little bit about your channel.
So I do a lot of hauls and unboxing content, and I have really bad lighting right now because I just moved. But I do a lot of pin content as well, tags, box swaps, and I have some vlogs that I have up there too. My last vlog was Boo Bash that just released yesterday. So there you go.
Exciting. Oh, and Cassidy does not have a channel. So Cassidy does. She has a TikTok. She has a TikTok though that she's been working on.
Let's not talk about it. We're not talking about it.
I didn't prepare her for the fact I might drop the TikTok, so we won't talk about it if you don't want to. All right, and then Tim and Katie do have a YouTube channel, and I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves. And talk about their channel.
Katie.
Yeah.
In case you were confused.
Yeah.
Theme parks, resorts, nature, hikes, haunts, and coasters mostly. We sometimes go out and try to be informative if we know things about places like Hershey Park, which we're very local to, and other times we have no idea what we're doing, and we just go out and have a fun day, and people follow along sometimes. So you could be one of those people.
Could be. Yeah, and their vlogs are really awesome. And a little spoiler alert is that maybe, just maybe, I might be in some of the vlogs coming up, coming up in the future. I might be in some of the vlogs. So stay tuned for that. But anyways, getting into our actual topic for the night, which is the Avengers movie. So me and Cassidy went and saw this together, which we'll tell the story really briefly because it's a funny story of how we went to go see it. But I did rewatch it for my reaction video, and I really expected to remember a lot of it. I'm going to be real. I was expecting to be like, oh yeah, I remember this moment. I remembered none of it, almost. I remember, I think the one, well, there was two moments that really stuck out. And the one with Iron Man at the end, I remembered the ending. And I remembered Hulk being like, I'm always angry. Those are the two moments that I remember from this entire movie. And that is it. And then plus Thor being attractive because, I was 14 years old when this movie came out. And that's it. But funny story, Cassidy, being the great role model she is as a human being, she was like, you know what we should do? We should skip band practice and go see this Avengers movie. And we were freshmen, and we skipped band practice, which was a big no-no. And we went and saw Avengers, and I remember being bored the entire time, pretty much. I thought it was okay, but I didn't know who anyone was. I didn't know what was going on. And my favorite one was Thor because he was hot, and that was it. And Cassidy was fangirling. So she was having her moment. Yeah.
Well, actually, my dad was the bad influence because he was like, I'm taking you out of school and we're going to go see this movie. And I was like, fine by me. Oh my God. So I said, Kaylee, you want to go see a movie with me?
I thought your mom took us, but now that you're saying that, I'm like, yeah, I think it was your dad that took us.
Oh, no, it was definitely my dad. He was all about the superhero movies. We went and saw every single one in theaters when they came out. That was our thing. Because he always wanted a boy.
Yeah.
He didn't need a boy, so he had me.
He had you. Well, what's funny is I was telling my grandmother this story right before we went live, and she was like, did I know that you did this? And I was like, I'm pretty sure you did. I mean, I went with
permission to go with us.
Yeah, but I don't think we realized that early on in band how bad it was. We got questioned the next day when we came back. We were interrogated in the office. And I surprisingly did not cry, but Cassidy, I think, cried.
Of course I did. I don't do well when people yell at me.
I know, it's very out of character for me not to cry. Oh, did you? I didn't even say we went to a movie.
Oh, I did.
Did you tell the group?
Yeah. I
did not.
Back then.
I did not.
And I was like, my dad said it was okay. We went to a movie.
I don't even know what lie I told, but I told a lie. I did not tell the truth. I also did not cry, which is very out of character for me nowadays because I cry like if someone confronts me. And I've been like that since a kid, but surprisingly that one time I did not cry. But anyways, okay, going on, I think Katie had also said you were not caught up when you saw this movie for the first time, right?
Yeah, so I had seen Iron Man, which I loved, in theaters with my dad because he's the one who got our family into superhero movies as well. And I had seen, I'm trying to remember, I think I saw Iron Man 1 and 2. And I did, but I know for a fact I had not seen Hulk, I had not seen Thor, and I had not seen Captain America.
You had seen Captain America.
Oh, no, I saw Captain America. That's the only other one I saw. And it's because of him, because before we were dating,
I made sure she saw Captain America.
He found out that I hadn't seen Captain America yet. And I don't know why I didn't catch that one in theaters. I don't know. But anyway, I went and saw it. I still loved it because I don't know. I loved superhero movies enough. And of course I fell in love with Loki and then later found out he was in the Thor movie. And I was like, oh, well. So I worked my way backwards a little bit after Avengers 12. But since then, like never again. Like I have seen everything, almost all of them in theaters. I think actually all of them in theaters. You still haven't
seen The Incredible Hulk.
I saw it. I watched 80% of that movie. I fell asleep. I'm sorry.
I was going to watch it, but then like it wasn't on. Okay, so Disney Plus has like, you know, when you go to the Marvel page, it has like phase 1 and phase 2. Hulk is not on phase 1. So I was like, so Disney Plus is telling me I can just skip the Hulk.
I think it's because they don't own the rights.
Well,
they don't own
Morgan,
the rights.
I'm not.
They don't own the rights to the Incredible Hulk. They only own the rights to Hulk.
Now this Incredible Hulk though, it's not Mark Ruffalo, right? That is the Hulk.
Okay. And he didn't. Edward left because I think he wanted more money and they weren't going to give it to him, so he said bye, which was such a mistake. But I like Mark Ruffalo, so
he did a great job.
Yeah, same reason.
That was Cassidy's favorite, I think, when we went and saw it, right? You're a big Hulk fan.
Well, I'm a big Mark Ruffalo fan. So when I saw that he was going to be the Hulk, I was like, that's my favorite. I don't care who else is in it. I love him. Yeah. He's my favorite. So.
Okay. Well, Tim, you were caught up. Morgan, were you caught up when you saw it the first time or no?
No, I had never. I like love X-Men. And so that's the only like thing I liked. And when I heard they were doing Avengers, I had no idea who was in it, but technically Wolverine's an Avenger. So I thought Wolverine would be in it. So I went to see it thinking that Wolverine would be in it. And I was thoroughly disappointed he wasn't. So then I went back and I watched, I had wanted to see the first Avenger and I never got to see it because I was poor. So we never went to the movies. So we always waited for it to come out for free on like FX. So then I think like that week it came on FX and I watched it. And then I watched Iron Man sometime later and I watched all the Iron Mans. And then I've still never seen The Incredible Hulk, but I really have no want to go back and watch it. And then I tried watching Thor. It didn't go well. So
yeah, that was honestly my first Thor experience too, which we won't get too much into, but I was like that. I literally tried watching it and I was like, this is so boring. And this was like when it first came out, or like, I guess it was after. It was after I'd seen Avengers.
If Thor is on, I will probably like the first Thor. I probably will watch something else. I really like the last, I think it's the last one, or maybe it's the second one.
Everyone except for me is a big fan of I haven't seen the last one all the way through, but I did. No one likes the second one but me.
I do.
Well, Tim does. Yeah, Tim does. I like it from
I
Loki.
can't even remember what happens in the second.
Well, we won't spoil it, Morgan.
Yeah.
I will text you later because that would probably be my chance. Like someone would be like, "You spoiled Thor."
It's the Dark Elves one.
Yes.
Oh,
Go ahead.
What
Sorry.
I was like looking for. I was like, what's the title of it?
Yeah, it's
Well,
Dark World.
the title is Dark World, but the enemy is the Dark Elves.
Yeah.
Christopher Eccleston among them is.
Yeah, I like Ragnarok the best out of the 3 Thors.
Ragnarok is so good.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear. I'm excited. I think I saw some of the Loki scenes from it because I was catching up for Loki, but they were out of context. And except it kind of threw back to one of the Avengers moments, which I knew was coming. I was so excited when Hulk just like smashes him around, and then we have that moment in Ragnarok where like he's just like in that arena, and he's like, yeah, that's what it felt like.
I think I like Ragnarok not because Thor I feel like is not like, he's obviously the main character, but I feel like it's not fully about him.
Yeah.
It's still about the bigger picture, and that's why I like it more than the original Thor.
Yeah. I'll kind of transition from Thor back into Avengers, and kind of similarly, which is I did watch all the Thor movies before I watched this. And I'm minus Ragnarok, but I am not the biggest Thor fan. He's okay. But I'll say I really liked Thor in this movie. I did. I was surprised I liked him as much as I did, because I thought his power was really good. He was like really impressive, and like obviously he's like a god, so like his power I thought was better than like a lot of people's power, because it's just a natural, like, as it should be. It's like, this more supreme, I guess, power. But I really ended up liking him in this one. I thought he was like really, him and Loki's dynamic was very good. Like he was like trying to bring Loki back to the good side, and like I just loved him. So what did y'all, think of like Thor, especially Morgan, or like someone who doesn't really care for Thor in general? Like, how did you think this movie compared to some other imitations of Thor?
Well, I just looked it up because I was like, I couldn't remember if Thor had come out before. Like, I know, like, that's the context that you're supposed to watch it in, but let's be real, that now is released in what you should watch it in. So I thought it maybe came out after, and that was why, because he wasn't, like, fully in the character yet. Do you not know what I mean?
Okay, you're saying that they
come out in the order
you're supposed to watch them. It may not be timed chronologically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
I will say. There's two camps, and I think we're obviously in the camp watch it in the order it was released, because that's the story that's being told. There's another camp that says no. If you haven't, just watch them chronologically.
You have to watch Captain Marvel first, and then.
But I mean,
I like watching them chronologically. I like watching them the way they were released, but I also think it's really cool watching them in chronological order.
Yeah. I mean, I think once you've seen them, honestly, you can watch them however you want. Kaylee's watching them.
You know what I think?
Kaylee's just spinning a wheel and picking whichever one.
You know what I think you should do if you're a new viewer? You should just start with WandaVision.
Yeah.
And you should do reaction videos, and then get all these comments of like, why are you starting with WandaVision?
Kaylee, I thought you were crazy. I think we've already been through that. I thought you were telling me about this girl who starts watching WandaVision. I'm like, what is she doing?
Yeah, but I like to watch them. Like, I like to have the story make sense. So I like to watch it like how like in the sequence of the Marvel world, not in the sequence that they actually released the movies. I mean, now I'm kind of subject to that because that's where we are in life. But I'm not gonna go back and watch, like, I think it's now up to 30 movies or something like that. Sorry, but I'm not. I thought Thor came out after Avengers. Okay, no, it didn't.
No.
It came out before.
The first one comes out right before.
Yeah,
and then
it was like
the second one's after. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only one in phase 1 that's like out of chronological order is Captain America, which came out right before Avengers, like by less than 8 months, and then
Captain Marvel now.
Yeah, well, in phase 1, of the original Avengers being formed, they all go in chronological except Cap, and the only reason they put Cap last is so that they could dig him out of the ice to start the Avengers movie.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah.
So I thought it was like, I did think he was subdued, kind of like you said. Like I felt like, and I thought that was because the original didn't come out yet, that he wasn't playing up to the character that like he plays up to in the later movies. Like he's not as boisterous or like out there as much as like as much of a like male.
He's more goofy, I think, in the later ones. And I don't mind it, but I really liked him. I think I liked him a lot in this one because we got to see his power. And I also liked, again, like the Loki, him trying to be a good brother to Loki and bring, like, not just completely hating Loki, you know, from what we've seen in Thor 1, you know. So do y'all have any other comments about Thor?
I mean, I would just say that I think he has really, even though he's not personally my favorite, honestly, at this point, I don't even know who my favorite is because they're just so good, all of them.
You better pick soon, Katie. It's a question.
I have a favorite for this movie.
Okay, good.
Thor's character development is probably one of the best because let's think about it. Like, does Captain America have all that much character development? Not really. Like, he kind of
that's what makes him great.
He's just kind of the good guy and stays the good.
He's perfect
guy
from the beginning.
No. Thor starts out as, like Morgan said, as this kind of like boisterous, rude guy, and you're like, am I supposed to be rooting for him? Like, he's a jerk. And then by the end, we're seeing him, really like sacrifice himself for his friends and put other people first. And he is kind of goofy. He's let loose a little bit. He's kind of let go of his I'm Asgardian and I'm better than everyone else attitude and, become more human in a sense. So I really do like Thor's character development. And I definitely think it starts to take off in the first Avengers movie.
His best Thor.
The first Thor movie, like everyone said, is like Thor being basically like an entitled jock who's like never had to earn anything in his life. And it's really the only time you've ever seen him with his helmet on either is in that first like 15 seconds of the original Thor movie. And then he gets cast out because he gets too entitled and like starts wrecking stuff around the house as jocks do. And then by the time of the first Avengers movie, Loki's betrayal cuts really deep because it's nothing he's ever dealt with before. So he's obviously heartbroken about that. And then he I don't know how or why it would lead him to dye his eyebrows brown, but I'm glad for it. And more than anything else, he's actually been through some stuff that has changed him as a person, makes him more willing to accept. And he has a genuine affection towards the Earth and the population on it rather than seeing them as ants, which is how Loki sees them. Mm-hmm. He's seeing them as people that need to be protected. And so by the time he hits Earth, he still thinks he's above a lot of it, but he's very conflicted versus just being like full of himself, which was the entire, even after everything he went through, the end of the first Thor movie, I think he's still very full of himself. And learning to work with the Avengers is a very good development for him personally.
And I think the episode, I know we're not talking about this, but What If, the episode that came out yesterday.
Don't spoil me. Don't spoil me.
I
have not seen that at all.
No.
I wasn't going to say any. I was just going to say, I think you see that a lot.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
What If episode.
I was getting a Wolverine flashback.
All it is, like I wasn't going to say anything that you couldn't learn from reading the description. But like, I can't even tell you what happens because I was so uninterested.
Okay, Cassidy, I don't want to cut you off. Did you have anything you wanted to say about Thor? I know he is not your favorite because I was like, he's so hot. I don't know why you don't like him instead of Hulk as a 14-year-old. Do you have any thoughts on him?
I think everybody's hit on the fact that he's got that good change in his character, but I'm not really a fan of Thor personally. So.
Okay.
I don't have much to say.
Well, before we move on to our next question, April has been sending in some comments, and I am a mess. So let me go through the comments. First and most importantly, I missed this comment. I'm sorry. Tim, what are you wearing?
So For our wedding, we got like a bunch of like casual cosplay ingredients, and we did like I was Captain America. Katie was actually Batgirl. We did like a Justice League versus Marvel Avengers thing, nerd stuff. But the shield is behind me. These are the straps that were supposed to hold it, but the shield that we got doesn't work that way. Like has snaps instead of like. So I wear the thing to look like I've been wearing the shield, but I haven't been.
And he has
And
his
these are the Cap gloves that I ordered, and Katie's got her
one
Iron
Man arm that is
and behind
not
us,
jointed. So
we have Mjolnir and Ant-Man's helmet, even though he was not in the first Avengers. But
that's not on brand, Tim.
He was in the time travel Avengers. If everyone's caught up enough that we can mention Endgame, Ant-Man was kind of there.
I don't know. Okay, hang on. Let me get back to everyone. I'm a noob. Okay, so April also said that her first time seeing Avengers, she took her little brother and he broke her door handle to her car. So I mean, I think a lot of people had a memorable first Avengers outing, apparently. I think her favorite character. I mean, we are not shocked, are we? Because this is her favorite character, right? No. But she says she also loves Thor, which I agree. And then these are out of context because I'm a bad host.
Episode that Morgan.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
We haven't seen it. Almost caught up, but we haven't seen this week's episode.
I guess I'll have to go back and rewatch it if she says it's good. But I mean, I wasn't thoroughly impressed by it. I mean, it was kind of hard to top last week's episode. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, so kind of moving forward to a hard question. I'm going to start with my good friend Katie, if she is ready, since she said she did have an answer for this, which is, for this movie in particular, who was your favorite Avenger, and kind of a brief description of why you thought.
Katie, no.
I loved Iron Man because I loved the first movie. Yeah. Oh, that puppet's really cool.
Wait, it's fine. Okay, go ahead, keep talking.
I like Robert Downey Jr. a lot. I don't know. I thought they're all their nice costume switch. All their personalities, so different and clashing. Like we were just watching like a highlights just to like get in the mood before coming on here. And his fight with Thor and doth mother know you wear her drapes, like just the sass. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. And like him already clashing with Captain America. And now that we've all seen like how much Cap was involved with like his dad and stuff, like all the stuff that we've seen, or at least like how involved his dad was in S.H.I.E.L.D. and whatnot, I don't know, kind of gives me a different like feel when I see them interact for the first time. Yeah. So, and just kind of, since we already like know where they all, end up, or most of us know where they all end up, I guess.
I do know.
So yeah, I guess you do know. So seeing them like all together for the first time, it's like herding cats at first. So I love Iron Man. I still love Iron Man. I just think there's been so many new characters since that Avengers. Like, I don't know if I could say he's my number one anymore, but I also have a really hard time saying anyone is my number one because, just watch Shang-Chi and I'm like, well, he's really cool too. Like, how can I?
I concur.
But I'll shut up now. But for the first Avengers film, definitely it was Iron Man for me.
Okay, Tim, what you say?
You need to ask.
I think definitely Pepper Potts.
She had a good moment at the beginning and the end of this movie.
I mean, yeah. We'll get to like the Avengers dynamic, I'm sure. But the reason that I love Cap is what I kind of like outbursted earlier, is that his moral compass has always kind of been on point from the beginning. That's why he became Captain America, was because he was a meek little city boy that like didn't like bullies. And so now every time he sees a bully, he just stands up for what he thinks is right. And I just think like he carries that throughout the entire Marvel universe up until recent events have forced him to retire. And he really never, until the very, very end, when he like gets his, I guess, divine reward, he really never selfishly pursues anything. He's always looking out for the little guy. Don't give me that face. Don't you give me
How can you say that? Oh my gosh. No.
Don't do it.
Civil War, Tim.
No. I can defend that all day and night, but we would be here all day and night.
I haven't really seen the movie.
Okay.
Okay.
As for the context of Avengers 1, Cap is kind of like the heart and soul of the team. He is the one who really doesn't care who he has to work with or what he has to do, as long as the little people are protected. And he spends the whole movie in that mindset. And that is what I loved so much about the first Avenger, that kind of gets lost a little bit in Winter Soldier, even though I really love Winter Soldier. Like, I really like the early Cap movies. So I'm a dedicated fanboy.
I think you're going to hate me a little later today. But okay, we'll go ahead and move on to Cassidy. And I think he's on here somewhere. Yeah, I can point correctly on who yours is, but go ahead, and he's on here. I don't know if you can see the color. You should know by the color which one.
Oh,
is that not your favorite?
Obviously, I love the Hulk. I think he's awesome. I mean, he's the strongest Avenger. But I don't know. In the first one, he's not really my favorite.
What?
I know, it's shocking.
14-year-old Cassidy would disagree.
Well, yes, 14-year-old Cassidy was like, Mark Ruffalo, whatever Mark Ruffalo does is just perfect. He could not do any wrong.
I'm shook.
But honestly, I think in the first movie, I have to agree with Katie that Iron Man would be my favorite from the first movie. Not altogether, just the first movie. And I tried to rewatch it today, but of course, my 11-month-old did not want to let me watch a movie that was not Mickey Mouse or Bluey. So I did not get to really focus in on it. But yeah, from what I remember and from what I saw today, it would have to be Iron Man.
Okay, Morgan, I can tell you have some thoughts. Go ahead.
I do not. I mean, you know my thoughts.
Yeah, I do.
I do not like Iron Man. Yeah. I think I think Thor is a jerk. And I think Cap is overrated.
We're running out of Avengers here.
And this is why I was so excited when you said you were coming on, Morgan. I really am.
My favorite is actually Black Widow.
That's a good choice. Choice.
Yeah, I think let's be real. She's one of the main reasons they all came together. And she's the one that brought them together. Without her, Tony would have never joined because he was not joining because of Nick. Bruce Banner definitely would not have joined because he's got a thing for Nat. And Hawkeye would have never, he would have probably done it, but meh, without her, not really. And Hawkeye's not really in it that much, so.
I'm not talking about Hawkeye.
Thor is Thor. He's a jerk. And then Cap just does whatever he's told, so. But.
I love Black Widow's hair in this movie. Her hair changes a lot.
Yes.
In the first Avengers, when it's the short, curls, that's my favorite.
It is the best Nat
It's the best Nat hair.
Yeah, and I think she plays a huge leadership role within the Avengers throughout all the movies, and she never gets credit for it. And it makes me so angry because she's the one that keeps Steve from just doing what he wants to do, and it's no, we're a part of a team. Or she tries to show him what the other side of it is. Why is Tony acting the way he's acting?
Well, look how long it took her to get her own movie. So
I know, and now she'll never have a movie ever.
April says 18-month-old Emma would run around yelling Hulk smash to the scene where Cap tells Hulk to smash. You got to get Lincoln started young, Cassidy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. As soon as he's able to sit down and focus, we're going to try to watch the Avengers movie. Right now, he just likes to run around and get into stuff. He'll stop for theme songs, and then he gets up and runs around throughout the whole episode. Don't understand it.
So this question for me is actually surprisingly hard, and I did have a top 3, and I'm like, no, I can't do a top 3, but because I made you guys narrow it down. But I do have a top 2, and I'm not budging on the top 2. Okay, these are pretty closely tied to me. I think we can all reasonably make a guess on who the first person is. And I did really love him in this movie, and I wasn't sure if I was. Like, I go into every movie, like, I don't know who's going to be my favorite and all that, but I really liked him. One of my favorite scenes is him, like, coming, I'm trying to think what he was helping them do something. He comes in, I think it's like his intro, like right before he meets Cap for the first time, and the music's playing, and you just know it, like, it's just so, I don't know. I just love the vibe. He's so fun. He's so funny. I do enjoy that. But also to Morgan's point, Black Widow, like, killed it this movie. I really liked Black Widow a lot. Like, a lot. Like, every scene she was in, I was like, dang girl, like, I loved it. She's one of my favorites. I do remember liking her when we went and saw it in theaters first time. I remember thinking it was so cool that a girl was like an Avenger, but she really lived up to it. I mean, she's pretty awesome. So I think those would have to be my favorite 2. Now kind of, I think Hawkeye was number 3, by the way. Transitioning to the question, I think Tim may not want to speak to me anymore.
No,
I'll start on this question, which is who was my least favorite, I think, in this movie of the Avenger crew. And I'm going to say Captain America. And I'll tell you why I thought he was my least favorite in this one.
I get it now. I got it. Yeah.
He was my least favorite in this one currently, because I just feel like everyone else, and maybe it's because like we saw him in his movie, like in the First Avenger, and like you get to really know him in that one, and you get to see the character, and like he basically is still that person in this one, right? Like I just feel like it wasn't his fault. I just was very underwhelmed with him, just because like Hulk interested me more than I remembered. Like I was really interested in his story, and Black Widow was so captivating, and Iron Man, and like Thor and Loki, and like I feel like just everything. And I love Hawkeye. Okay, that's just, I've always loved Hawkeye. So it's just like he was the one that I was kind of like, well, you know, he's just kind of the bottom of the totem pole for me. Not that he did anything wrong. He's good in this movie. I think he probably is like, of them introducing like all these people together and the dynamics of all these people, I think for me, he was like the most, like for me, the most forgettable. Tim, don't hate me. I still love you. I want our friendship to work out. I was like, when you said that, I was like, oh no. But that's my thought.
Emptying out very quickly.
That's my thoughts. So, I mean, Morgan, you said you pretty much hated everyone else. So, yeah. Can you think of the one that you didn't like the least in this, or you didn't like the most in this one?
Well, I loathe Iron Man the most.
Okay.
Because he is just such, oh my gosh, he reminds me of like every single guy I think I've ever dated in my life, minus being rich. Like that is his only redeeming factor, is that he is rich. And yeah, like he just irks me so much, and I just hate it because he's just always like, no, it's my way, it's what I want, it's not what I want, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you shouldn't even be the leader of this group, you're just so dumb. Like I think he's like half the reason they get into half the battles they do is because he can't keep his mouth shut. And then probably next on my list would have to be
girl, you're like me, you have to pick a top 2.
Oh.
No, you can. Go ahead and say
the
who
rest
next
are just, it would have to be Thor, and then the rest are all just like in one even little line. Just because I feel like you don't get enough of Hulk, really, like Bruce Banner as Bruce Banner. You don't get enough of him in this movie, and then you don't get enough of Hawkeye, so meh. Just those two. Just like
what you get of them.
Oh, and Cap. Like I don't mind Cap. But he's just very, like, kind of like you said, like, he's just stagnant, and it's just kind of like, all right, dude, like, get over the good boy act. Let's see how you really feel.
I just want to put out there, I didn't hate him in this movie by any means. I didn't hate any of them. I thought they were all really amazing. I think it's because I'm so used to seeing like Captain and Iron Man and like those being the main two, especially with phase 1, and those were like the origin movies I saw. So I just thought it was really cool to see the other characters, and I do feel like Iron Man kind of, for me, had more of a presence than Cap, but that's easy to do because Cap is just more like chill, and Iron Man is bam, so it's just kind of how his personality is. Okay, Tim, go ahead and you can share your feelings. It's your turn.
I'm tempted to say Loki just to see how the internet responds. I'm kidding.
He's not an Avenger.
No.
I did have some moments I didn't like him though in this. I was kind of heartbroken, but we'll talk. That's another question.
Of the 6, I would probably say Thor is the least appealing to me in this movie, even with everything I said earlier about his character development, because his character, really until like phase 3, I want to say, or maybe midway through phase 2, he is not a truly interesting character until he is fully developed, and Avengers is part of what develops him. So him being in Avengers is mostly a power balance of the team, more so than a interesting character up against interesting character, because Thor as a character is very flat at start, and he's developing throughout the movie of Avengers. So I won't, like you said, Kaylee, there are no bad characters in this movie. Like I would even like go all the way down the line to like the minor like bit players. Like everyone in this movie, the guy who's playing Galaga on the deck of the helicarrier, like everyone in this movie is fantastic all the way through. But of everyone, I would say Thor is like probably, gun to my head, least favorite character of the bunch.
Hey, Kat. I almost said Cap because we're talking about Captain America. Hey, Kat. Thanks for joining. She is wanting to talk about Captain America when he had his beard. Which, yeah.
I did dig the beard.
I thought the beard was very nice. Very nice.
It's not very military of him, though.
Yeah, but
thanks for not hating me.
That's finally becoming interesting.
Hey, whoa.
Because that's
whoa.
Katie went against the rules. Like that's what I like. That's what I liked about him in his movie was that he didn't just play by the book and do what the general told him and not go save Bucky. Like he went and saved Bucky, and he had to go against like what everyone was telling him to do. And like in this one, he's just like, no, we have to play it by the book. We have to play it by this. We have to play it by that. I'm like, stop being such a goody because we know you ain't. Like just stop.
Well, I feel like we could have a whole separate live, just Cap, Iron Man, or dynamic. I feel like that. I literally feel like that could be a whole other live because there's so many things about it. But I'll say really briefly, I enjoyed. There was one scene where I feel like it had to have been this movie, and it was something along the lines of like Captain acting like, well, they like didn't like basically being like they wouldn't have jumped on a grenade or like you wouldn't have jumped on a grenade, something like that. Like, and I just feel like it's interesting. Like I just enjoy them all because they all bring different points of view and things like that. And like Cap's pretty great, but like sometimes I think he thinks like in black and white, right? Sometimes. And I think we see a little bit more of the gray in later movies, than we do in this one. But yeah. April and Kat are really on bearded Cap. Like they're having. I agree though.
With like what Tim said, and I wonder if this like is why I don't like really like those three, like Thor, Cap, and Iron Man, is because they're all battling to be like the leader, and it's like super annoying at points in the movie to me. So maybe that's why I don't like them in this movie.
Yeah. Okay, Cassidy, I'm sorry. I was about to move on, and I didn't even give you a chance. Go ahead, and who is your
You
least
also didn't
favorite?
give Katie a chance.
Katie, oh my God!
Skip mine. It's the same. So
No,
I was going to be perfectly
Katie,
fine with being skipped on that one.
Wait,
Yeah.
Katie, who was yours?
mine was Captain America for the reason that everyone else said about him just being goody two shoes or whatever. But not saying I hated him, just like if I ranked them in that movie, Cap was at the bottom.
Okay. Go ahead, Cassie. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I have to agree that Thor would be my least favorite in this one. And it's just like Tim said, that he's just like a flat character. There's not really a lot for him to do. It's the same. But
I thought it was an I guess because it was an improvement from the first Thor. I was like pleasantly surprised because I've not ever been really super impressed with it. Which, to be honest, when I saw the first Thor, and you know this if you saw my reaction video, I was all about Loki. Loki, like he was interesting to me. Which we'll get to that. But I have two questions towards the end here that were sent in to me by my good friend Tim. That I will ask. The first one is, if you could change one thing about Avengers, what would you change? And, I will not start with me because I have an answer, but I want to change it really bad because I feel like everyone's going to judge my answer. So I will go ahead. I'm going to start with Cassidy on this one. If you know your answer, Kat. Do you need a minute? Do you want to go to someone else? We can. We can start with Tim. Let's start with Tim, actually, because Tim was the one that sent in this question.
I did, but my answer is like very shallow.
Go ahead. Mine is too. If I don't.
Captain America's suit.
Okay.
The America's, I don't know what we're allowed to say on your channel, Caleb. America's headquarters suit.
Oh, okay.
The one that everyone laughed. Like, the reason that is funny in Endgame is because the suit is so retroactively terrible and it makes him look so ridiculous. They call it Captain Puerto Rico or whatever, because it's like the Puerto Rican flag with the way it's actually styled. But honestly, Avengers is such a masterpiece. It's not like that one movie that I would put in a vault if all other movies were going away and preserved. But like, as an entity, the first Avengers film did things that no other film like it in history has done. And I feel like every character, with the exception possibly of Hawkeye, got some spotlight shown upon them to give a little bit of a performance piece. And that spiraled out into the universe that we have today. It kind of jump-started everything. I wouldn't change much of anything about the story, about the dialogue, although there is one line I would probably scrap if I had to go back and do it again. But
tell me, you can't not tell me.
His when Cap drops down to blast Loki's scepter, and in Germany when he drops down.
Yeah. After the guy says,
there are always men like you.
There are always men like you.
But Cap drops down to like deflect a blast that Loki's gonna like strike down the Elder, and he's like, the last time I was in Germany, we ended up disagreeing with that guy.
No, a guy. It was like the guy who made everyone.
Oh yeah, the last time I was in Germany and someone was above everyone else, we ended up disagreeing. I was like, is that what you meant to say, Cap? Or is that what came out after you had like 72 hours without sleep?
It's not the greatest line after
it really isn't. But the outfit is what has to go. Swap it for the Winter Soldier outfit. I'm 100% like all in, but that's my petty complaint.
Okay. I think it's a good one. Katie, what about you?
Mine would be give Hawkeye more screen time, probably.
Yeah.
Even though he didn't get a lot, I still really did like him, and I have kind of a soft spot for archers. I don't know why. I find it. I'm just gonna say it. I find it incredibly sexy. I don't know what it is, but I've always loved like retellings of Robin Hood. I love like the Green Arrow from the DC, line of superheroes. I love Artemis and Young Justice. So I love a guy who can shoot arrows. I don't know what it is, but I do. So giving Hawkeye more screen time. I had forgotten because you see, much of him later. Like rewatching some of the stuff in the beginning, I was like, oh man, he's kind of like out of this movie.
Yeah.
So that would be my change.
Yeah. Cassidy, it looked like you got yours after I went to Tim. So what would yours be?
Well, okay. I remember when we watched it in theaters, the one thing I didn't want to happen was Phil. What happened with Phil? I cried like
Okay.
a baby in theaters. And I still to this day hate that scene. I just don't I still cry. So that'd be the one thing that I would change, which I know that there's like a whole thing that happens after that, but still, I did not know that back then.
Yeah.
So that would be the one thing I would change.
I will say it was more brutal. It was more brutal than I remember it being. Because that was another thing. I did know that was coming, but it was so, like, I didn't remember it being that intense. I was like, dang. Yeah. What were you saying, Tim? I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I was just piling on to what Cassie was saying. She's talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when he's, like, resurrected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it went wildly off the rails, and they no longer think of it as canon. But it started out very hand-in-hand with the Marvel Universe. And so
it went from, like, Marvel Universe to, like, something else.
Marvel fan fiction.
Yeah, I stopped watching, like,
everyone did this.
Episodes in. It's just, I could not get on board.
It started out really good because they literally tied it, like when Thor the Dark World came out, the very next day they had their episode of, oh, here comes the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to clean up the Dark World mess. But then, like, by season 2, they started, like, trying to do original stories, and Joss Whedon was talking back and forth with people about, can I do this? Can I do this? And they're like, no, we need those characters for the movies. And they're like, and basically just Joss Whedon decided to do whatever he wanted, and people stopped taking him seriously. Which is a shame.
I feel like it would have went better if they had waited on it and done it, like, in now with, like, the universes part.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is a different universe. Like,
they still could. At any point in time, they could be like, oh, Earth 375. That's where the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. live now.
I don't know about that.
Okay, Morgan, what would you change?
I would probably agree with Katie. I would give Hawkeye more screen time because I just love Hawkeye, and I feel like he never ever gets enough screen time except maybe in Endgame. But it was like such a pity that we had to wait so long to finally find out so much information about Hawkeye. And but now I'm like psyched for his show to come out around Christmas. But I'm just, I was very disappointed. Like, I loved Hawkeye's character, and I think he has, like, every scene he is in is so pivotal. Thank you.
We knew what you were saying, girl.
Like, he's always doing something that, like, changes the course. Like, I saw this thing the other day about his scene with Wanda in Civil War, and how if he had never done that, Wanda would not be an Avenger. Like, she just wouldn't be. She would have died in Sokovia. Is that where they were?
Yeah.
But yeah. So I just think he's, like, such an important piece of the Avengers, and we never see enough of him. He just, like, pops up and is like, I'm here.
Morgan, something that you said.
Agree.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry. I was just saying I agree. Go ahead.
It was something that you had said earlier, Morgan, about, like, how, like, Black Widow is, like, the central character in the Avengers because she's, like, bringing them all together. We don't find, because we know so little about Hawkeye by the time the Avengers movie starts.
Yeah.
We don't find out until much later that he isn't actually even, like, a rostered member of the Avengers. The only reason that he becomes an Avenger is because Black Widow is so personally invested in him that she goes, like, to try and drag him back from off the ledge and rescue him from Loki, and he just comes out swinging for revenge. And then Nick Fury's like, yeah, go ahead, play with the big boys, whatever. You get your shot. But then here we are, and he's, like, so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's why Black Widow is the best Avenger.
I never said she wasn't great. I said that Cap is the best Avenger, and I stand by it.
Man, he might have been the first, but that's just because he was born.
Some things come out perfect the first time.
Although we never really know when Thor was born, to be fair.
True.
Yeah, Thor is probably, like, I don't know how like time works.
Yeah, 100 years.
Okay, so to kind of do my answer, my adult answer, you know, for now, for my age now, would be totally giving Hawkeye more screen time, agreeing with you guys. But the answer that popped in my brain the first time was the answer that 14-year-old Kaylee would have given, which is the fact that, and let me preface this in saying, I do remember the scenes with Hawkeye's family. I do like Hawkeye's family, but the freaking chemistry with Hawkeye and Nat, and I wanted it so bad as a 14-year-old. I wanted it so bad.
I was confused by
So bad. And I rewatched it. And some of the scenes and some of the chemistry, I was like, yeah, I still want it. But not like in an alternate universe, it'd be a beautiful thing. Like, I totally respect, like, I loved his family scenes. I did. And Cassidy, I remember Cassidy breaking my heart because, like, we saw the First Avengers. And I was like, honestly, the only reason I'd watch it again is for, you know, them two, because I really liked their dynamic. And she was like, he's married. And I was like, no, I'm over it. I'm not watching it again. But I did enjoy it. And if I could change anything, it would be that there's an alternate universe where they're together. That's what I would say. Like, we have an alternate, there'd be an alternate Avengers where there's like this, like, time, like, you know, this whole, like kind of like, will they, won't they?
They played it like that though.
Yeah.
They didn't, like, I feel like they didn't, like, the actors didn't know where they were going with it, so they played it off so that it could go in any direction.
Their chemistry was off the rails in those things, in my opinion. Now,
I feel like even now that I know that he has a wife, even in their scenes that I see them in, I'm like, are you sure you're not cheating on your wife? Like, are you sure?
well, I did like, you know, not to get too spoiler, I did like, though, that, like, she was, like, close to his family. Like, she was, like, you know, this, like, part of their family. And I like that. I just like that they had this bond overall. And it's one of the things, like, when we got into later movies and from what I'd seen, because I did watch a lot of their scenes because I just am attracted to, like, that storyline. And I didn't mind it. Like, once we got into it and once, like, I saw everything else, I thought they had really good chemistry still. And, but I just had to say it for 14-year-old me, and also the me that just rewatched it and was like, dang, they really had good chemistry.
I feel like in the back of my head, like, this is how I always made sense of it, is that Nat doesn't actually like Bruce Banner. She uses, like, his attraction to her advantage. So she, like, flirts with him and stuff so that she gets what she wants. And then, but she actually is in love with Hawkeye, but Hawkeye is not in love with her. He's in love with his wife, but he doesn't, like, he like, loves her as a friend, but she can never, like, accept that. So this
could be a whole nother chat. Okay.
Yes.
Like,
we're getting further into fan fiction territory.
This, Morgan, we will have the chat one day. We will, my friend. We will. But I will say this. I feel like if she ever had feelings for him, she would, like, never say it. She would just not. Like, they're in the vault if she ever had, like, feelings like that for him. But we got to move on because we don't have a lot of time left. I've got 2 more questions to say. I'm going to go ahead and go to my question, and then Tim's question the second question he sent in to me will be the last question. Oh, wait, I do have to say this. Kat agrees with Morgan. She thinks Bruce is just a placeholder. 14-year-old Kaylee would also agree with this, but I don't know if I would.
I agree with it, but that's just me.
And hello, Mitchie. Thanks for joining. Mitch. Oh, Mitch. Oh, I think I know who. Wait, is this y'all's Mitch?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, hey.
That is our Mitch.
Is that you?
And no one else's.
Sorry, Devin.
Your God's. Yeah, I saw the D though. I was like, oh, make it Devin. Okay. Hello. I love your videos. Okay. Moving on. So I have to ask this question, which is about Loki and our thoughts about Loki, because Loki was a big deal for this movie, and I did remember that he was, like, the bad guy in it. And for me personally, there were some scenes where I, like, still, like, oh, you know, it's you know, because I felt like there was some times where he was being kind of, like, manipulated a little bit, or he was kind of being forced a little tiny bit, because they were, like, that part where he, like, goes, it's not like through a portal, but he's, like, back where he was with them, and they're like, you have to do all of this, whatever. But then there's sometimes he does things, and I'm like, Loki, why did you do that? And I don't, but the other thing I kind of want you guys to think about, you know, as you give your thoughts about Loki, is I feel like we've all seen the show for Loki, and we won't do a lot of spoilers in case anyone watches this that has not seen the show Loki. Morgan, did you watch it?
Yes.
You did, didn't you? Okay. I thought you did. But there were some lines that were said in this movie, and I was like, that is such a funny, ironic line, considering that the Loki show comes right after this. And one of them that I thought was there were two, but I can't remember the second one, but one of them I thought was so funny and ironic considering the Loki show was when he was talking about like freedom and how like taking people's freedom away makes them happier. And I'm like, buddy, like if you only knew what you were about to go through. So what were y'all's thoughts on this movie, the Loki in it? And then like, I know some of y'all weren't able to like completely rewatch it, but based on what you remember and then based on the Loki television show, without going like super into spoiler territory, what did y'all think of like this movie as a precursor to that and like Loki's role in it, all that? So we'll start with Morgan this time. I don't think I've started with you a lot.
So I don't really see this movie as a precursor to that because in Endgame, right? Endgame is where they go back and things change. So like, yes, the events are the same leading up to that point, but not like I don't consider the movie necessarily like I still see that it falls like after Endgame. So I kind of forgot that it's technically like after this, but yeah, what was the question?
Basically, what do you think about Loki in this movie in general? Like, whatever you want to say about Loki, Morgan.
I had no idea who he was when I first saw it. And I was like, what the heck? Why does this guy, like, hate these people so much? And then I watched Thor, and it made sense. But I, like, really didn't like Loki after this episode at all because, like you said, he does things where you're just, like he'll have a redeeming moment, and then he just, like, does something completely different and you're like, what the heck? Like, why did you do that? Like, why can't you just like be good? Like, I don't understand. Like, yeah. So and then I realized later on that he's also like being partly controlled because of the Tesseract that's in his staff, right? It's in his staff. Something's in the staff.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not as educated on all it is in his staff, but or like I guess it's part of it's in there. Yeah. But I didn't see it. I guess I didn't take from it he was being controlled by that. I took he was getting manipulated by like because they were threatening him.
Then, like whatever in his staff, there's another stone in his staff, I think. And that's what's controlling him and like it's kind of like it's bringing out the worst in him. And so once I learned about that, I was like, oh, this all makes so much more sense. And then like, so I just don't like his actions in this. And I think also it was very like interesting character. I feel like there was really no character development. And if he wasn't in it, I feel like I could have done without him.
Yeah, I do feel like he had like
wouldn't
some
make sense, like
weird...
the whole movie wouldn't make sense, but I feel like I would have been fine with it.
Yeah. Well, I feel like he was good to have.
So like the entire Avengers 1 would just be like the end credit scene of them sitting in the shawarma hut, basically. That's what you're
saying.
Infinity War too. We don't need him. If it was just like the battle scene to the end, like I would be perfectly fine with that.
I think he was a good and like necessary villain, and like I remember not liking him when I saw it in theaters, but I think in my mind it didn't give him like a lot of character development. It didn't really add a lot to like him growing as a person, but I do think he got to reflect on it some when we had the Loki series, and I mean I think we obviously see growth in the next two Loki movies. Okay, Katie, you look like you're about to like go ahead.
Okay, so I have already explained that I hadn't seen Thor before I saw this movie.
Yeah.
But I saw this movie, and oh boy, did I love Loki, because he's probably, like, you asked for my favorite Avenger. If you asked for, like, my favorite person or character or whatever in the movie, it's probably Loki. Because I have a very soft spot for, like, the kind of conflicted bad guy. And you're a Zuko girl, Kaylee, so you know what I'm talking about here. So yeah. I see Avengers as this is Loki pretty much hitting rock bottom, because we know from this point on, whether you go into the next Thor movie or you go into the Loki series, because there's two diverging moments there, he only gets better from there. So this is him hitting rock bottom. And Thor, he is a bad guy, but he's still not quite like all that bad. I mean, this is him being the bad guy. I mean, already like mentioned the Neil speech. Like that's after seeing how much you like. I love Loki later, and how he is more of like that anti-hero, and he has more, like, for lack of a better word, humanity in him. Going back and seeing him, almost, blast practically a Holocaust survivor to death, when he, stabs Coulson, like all of those things. It's just like, it's like seeing like your, child or whatever do something really bad.
Yeah.
So that's
my reaction.
I still absolutely love Loki. I love Tom Hiddleston. One thing I didn't remember was how like tired and almost sick he looked in this movie compared to what he looks like later. Like he's kind of gone. His eyes are shadowed. And it is kind of, like, I don't agree that he's being controlled, but I do agree with Kaylee. I'm trying to figure out which way to point, that he is being manipulated, and I don't think all of his actions are like 100% like all his ideas or whatever. So,
thanks for joining. I appreciate it.
So I could probably do a whole life just talking. We could do a Loki.
We could. Morgan just broke my heart saying she still didn't like the Dark World.
You know what? I actually don't remember a single thing from Dark World. So
he was the highlight of Dark World. That little.
He's the highlight of every movie he's in.
I would argue though, Katie. I will say, like, if you go, I will argue that his dark moment comes like directly after Avengers, when he returns home. And that moment that causes him, there's a like turning moment, I think, for him both in Loki and in Avengers. It's like right after. But I do think this is a big lead up to that. Yeah. Like that, his mom is like the bottom. And then but it's close. It is very hard though to see him go through all this. But Cassidy, you've also seen Loki, yes, the show. What are your thoughts? Do you have any thoughts on this? Tim, did I talk to you?
No,
did you say your thoughts? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, like, I don't remember who said it, but when I watched it the first time, I was not a fan of Loki. Just because I was like, why are you always choosing to be so bad? You have a chance to turn it around and you don't. And it just, I hate that.
He reminds me of some students.
But like now that I've seen like the show Loki and I've seen all the other stuff that he was in, it makes more sense to me that he always has that like conflicting back and forth happening. And it makes me just, when I watch it now, just feel sorry for him more than anything. But yeah, I was not a fan of him back when we watched it in theaters, but now I love Loki and I just feel bad for him and I want him to be good.
Yeah. He wants to be good. He wants to. And as Owen Wilson once said, in case nobody ever told you, you can be good. You be a good guy. All right, Tim, go ahead with your thoughts.
All right. Well, firstly, I think to go back to what's been said about the active debate on the table is whether or not the scepter had some role in like what was going on. So my personal opinion, and from what I have like seen over the last however many years of Marvel movies, based on what we know now about the Mind Stone, which was the one that was in the scepter, I think that like, yes, Thanos and whatnot put him in charge of the Mind Stone, thinking he was going to be basically on the same level as the four other guys, Proxima Midnight and the Maw and the people that Thanos sent to Earth to conquer it in Infinity War. He was basically like an envoy of Thanos, and Thanos was using him as an avatar of sorts. And so, sure, take this Mind Stone because that's the one that I don't need presently because I have things under control over here. I think it was like what Katie said about him looking sick and like demented and twisted. That is a result of him being cast out of his kingdom, of him losing the only good things that he had going for him at the time, basically rolling the dice on trying to do something that he thought was going to, I think he genuinely believes at this point in time that him being in charge of things is good for everyone else. So he did a gamble in Thor 1 and he lost, and he's already at what he perceives to be the bottom when he comes to Earth. So Thanos giving him power in that moment is basically like, of course you're going to go the wrong direction with it. Like, where else do you have to go? No one loves you right now. You've been cast out of your kingdom. So like, I think it's been said before on other lives, I think, and often in, just like comic books and whatnot, that absolute power corrupts absolutely. So he has all the power in the world in his stick. It's more power than he's ever held in his life. He's got an army behind him, and he's going to do whatever he has to do to keep it and to achieve his own personal goals, which honestly kind of get lost in the mix. Now, I promise I'm going to be concise about it. There's two ways to look at this as far as like Loki in Avengers. The first is like coming from the comics themselves. Loki is not a historically redeemable character. Comics, everyone is hot. Let's just be realistic. Everyone is hot in animated form. Like in comics, everyone is drawn beautiful and perfect and sexy. So like you can't look at those characters and be like, I have to love him because he's so hot. Like you love everyone or you don't. So like in the comic books, Loki up until the Marvel Cinematic Universe was historically a very demented, chaotic individual who was absolutely irredeemable and was always just throwing a wrench into the monkey works to see what would happen. In the movie, I think they keyed him up that way. And the way that they had developed his character through the first like 4 movies of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, by the time they got him there, and Thor was so personally invested, and I think for all the mistakes that Josh has made in his directing career and his personal life, I think Joss Whedon did a really good job of like sorting out like this bond is important. Let's highlight this a little bit more in this movie. And that got audiences invested. So by the time we hit like the Loki series and Thor: The Dark World, 2 different divergent paths that both redeem Loki as a character, I don't think any of that was planned at the time of Avengers 1. I think that Loki was a perfect villain for the Avengers to rally against, because the best villains are the ones who think they're doing the right thing or doing the wrong thing for the right reasons, or whatever makes them dangerous is their commitment to their own ends. So all of this to say, I think that Loki was a really, really good villain. I think that he was not necessarily meant to be redeemable, but he was a much more likable character than people were anticipating. And I'm glad that he was, because now we have all of this with the Loki show and Loki being resurrected from nothing. And like, he's a character that just won't die. He's the gift that keeps on giving.
I love it.
But I think that when Avengers hit the screen, he was designed to be the perfect bad guy, and he was. And I'm glad that Thor and their relationship kind of saved Loki in the end, although I think they're 2 different rock bottoms that led to his I think Sylvie's what redeemed him in the show, more so than the kind of duct tape solution they cobbled together. And I think that his mom dying was his kickoff point in the greater MCU. But
yeah.
I agree. I think he was supposed to be like a throwaway villain. Like, it was supposed to be like, he's the villain. All right, they defeated him. All right, you're never gonna see him again. You're never gonna hear from him. And I feel like that's how he was designed to be originally. And then like, for whatever reason, people were like, oh my gosh, Loki, I love him. And then like, they were like, oh wait, maybe we're making a mistake. So.
Yeah, I think April had told me this before, and I think I'd read it before. Like, they literally didn't believe he was dead, and they were like, "We're gonna just go with it." And it is like, I feel like every time it's like he's died, and I literally saw a meme. This is like small spoilers for the Loki show. I literally saw this like meme from the Loki show where it like had these, I don't know what it's from. I think Tim knew because I had told Tim about it, and Tim and Katie might have known what it was from. They like have their nooses on, and the guy turns in his like first time.
First time, yeah.
And it's like, because he died, it's like all the time. It's like Loki's dying all the time. But I really love him. Okay, I think I got everyone. So I will kind of end it and do outros and also just wrap up Tim's last question, which is basically he was wanting to know like what Avengers means to you and kind of what place it I guess holds in the Avengers universe or the Marvel universe for you. So I'll go ahead and kind of wrap up and say mine. I really did like this. I think it's always going to be one of my favorites because the one like they're just so they're figuring it out, but it's like they're babies and they're just now coming together. And I also will always like love it and remember it because me and Cassidy skipping band to go see it. It's just like one like I will always remember that. And seeing it, it's probably one of the only, I think it is the only Marvel movie up until this point I've seen in theaters. So it's very special to me for that reason. But what about you, Morgan? Is there a reason you like it, or is it not special to you? It's okay if it's not.
I mean, like I liked it. I thought it was a good movie. I never like still caught it. Didn't like catch me on to the like Avengers whole thing, so I was mad that Wolverine wasn't in it, and so I was just like, you know what, this is like nice, but whatever. And I never like had the need to go see the second one, which is why I never saw it for a really long time. But I mean, it's okay. The start of everything, so like I feel like it's always going to be like good, but I didn't really like it's not what caught me in the Marvel universe.
Gotcha. What about you, Cassidy? Do you have any?
It's honestly it's the first one that I remember like vividly remember seeing in theaters. Because I'm 90% sure that my dad took me to all of the other ones when they came out, but that's the first one that I remember going to see. So it's kind of like a nostalgia thing for me. So every time I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, I saw this for the first time in theaters with Kaylee, and it was like a big thing. We skipped school, you know?
Yeah.
So every time I watch it, it just kind of brings back that feeling. And so that's one reason why it's like a special movie to me. But also just because, like you said, they're all just now getting to know each other. You get to see how their stories come together, and then watching them grow from there is just wonderful. So yeah, it's one of my favorite ones if I had to rank the movies.
Go to Katie. Since this was Tim's question, we'll end with Tim.
Okay, that's fair.
That's dangerous.
It'll always be special to me. I've already said, like, since that one came out, like I never missed another. Like I was like, I'm sold, I'm in, and I never missed another one. And ended up, I saw it twice in theaters with my ex, and it wasn't until maybe like 5 months later that Tim and I started going out. So like he made sure I caught up, and then from there and. We've seen almost every single one in theaters together since. So I don't really think they'll ever, honestly, I mean, our generation grew up with, the Lord of the Rings movies, the Harry Potter movies, and then these, and I just don't know if we'll ever see something like this world built again. And it's still going, and some people have fallen off, but like we're in forever. So
I don't know how you could fall off at this point. If
I don't know either, but
like, how are you just falling off? Like,
I've come this far.
But it really did set the spark, and just something that had really never been done before, like bringing, like, because with the Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings movies, like we knew they obviously were connected, but like this is like taking all these separate movies and truly building something, and it just went off from there. And I don't think, even though I don't think at this point it's probably my second favorite of the Avengers movies, only just because of how freaking epic Endgame is. But it's the one I've honestly seen the most, because like that's like we would watch it like every family car trip down. We'd go to Florida a lot, not to go to Disney, but to see family down there. So I've seen it probably the most, and the music and just everything. I don't know. It means a lot to me. I probably ramble on for a while without it, but I know we got to be fun. So it means a lot, and will be special forever.
question just for you. It's your turn.
Okay. Well, Kaylee knows this, but for everyone else and everyone who's watching, so my previous record seeing things in theaters, any movie in theaters, was I saw the Simpsons movie 6 times in theaters, which to some people is not a lot, but to other people is a very lot. So the Avengers movie, it's special to me for all the reasons that like Cassidy and Katie already mentioned. Like, it was a big thing that had never been done. The world building was just out of this world, phenomenal from the get-go. From the minute that Nick Fury walked into a post-credit scene in Iron Man 1, you knew they were potentially going to be able to pull something like this off. But it was very, very different seeing it pulled off for the first time. All these characters who have never said a word to each other, who have all been interesting, well, with the exception of Thor, mostly been interesting enough that you were like invested in their own individual movies, and you got to know other side characters that may or may not matter later on down the line. As far as we as watchers were concerned, Avengers 1 was where it was all leading to. And of course it led to like so much more. But after seeing it the first time, I was determined to see it as many times as possible to beat my previous record. So I think I ended with 7 or 8 seeing it in theaters. And the reason that it, like, the momentum built so well, I think that Katie hit the nail on the head with like, I don't think there will ever be something like this in our generation again. I don't at all think it's impossible to beat the 2012 Avengers, because I think Endgame definitely did it, and the new Spider-Man movie is set to blow minds in a similar fashion in ways that also has never been done, but for different reasons.
Tim, don't get your hopes up.
You can't possibly kill this one for the original Avengers. I was in college. I was a senior in college when the original Avengers came out. It came out the week that I graduated college. So in my final classes, it was all anyone could talk about going into class each week, especially in the evening, because the evening of release day, I had a class at like 5 or 6 p.m. And for some reason, this like sticks in my mind so vividly. There was a row of like young ladies in front of me who like had no interest whatsoever in superhero movies, like had never cared before, were not the type, just thought that it was all like overhyped and whatnot. And they were chatting back and forth, and one of them said, "Are you going to the class tonight or the frat thing?" And then she's like, "No, I'm going to see Avengers." Like, "Oh, I want to see that. Can I come with?" That's got to be a thing we got to do, right? And I was like, this is the movie that has changed everyone's lives, because it is such a cultural phenomenon that like no one could afford to skip it. No one could afford to miss this monumental world built up to the point where it was actually hitting the big screen. I like the sensation of seeing that circle shot on screen for the first time. Like you'll never get chills like that again.
I will say, to add to that, I think I still remember the like electricity in the air for like that was in the theater when I saw it.
I'm always angry.
And it was probably better, like huge Harry Potter fan here, but I think even that feeling in that theater was even better than any Harry Potter movie, because let's all be real, we all have our problems with the Harry Potter movies, and I was disappointed in some of them and had some parts, but like there was nothing disappointing about Avengers to me. And I don't think that energy, I'll ever feel quite that like energy, and I don't know, everyone being on the same board and like laughing the same time, except for Endgame. That was the only one that
it's cheesy to say now because of all, and after having spent like an hour and some change talking about how the unifying of the Avengers was such a big thing, but Avengers as a film really felt like it unified everyone who went to see it. Whether you were a big Marvel movie fan or not, like you went into that theater and you were on the same level as everyone else. The people who had never seen another Marvel movie and the people who had seen all the Marvel movies, which at that time there were only like four or five. But at that moment, like you were all on the same team, and it was Team Avengers.
Yeah.
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 I'm not. Y'all, I knew y'all would be great. All of y'all are great. I'm so thankful that y'all all got to join me tonight to talk about this amazing movie that I thought was even better. Like, well, I mean, I didn't love it the first time. I didn't think it was horrible. I remember thinking like, oh, this isn't too bad. And like now hearing you guys talk about how like culturally significant it is, and like, dang, I'm happy Cassidy convinced me to go see it. Like, that's really cool. So thanks to your dad, I guess, actually, for pulling us out of school. But we'll go ahead and end it here. But I will, I mean, Cassidy, like I said, does not have a YouTube, but I am still thankful that you got to join on. Do you want to plug your TikTok while you're
Okay, so I have recently started watching The Walking Dead. Okay, for the first time. I know I'm way behind on the times. It's been out for, what, 10, 11
we're talking about a 2012 movie.
Well, I know, but I saw those when they came out. The Walking Dead I haven't seen until now. And so I've been watching it and reacting to it, and I've gotten more views than I thought I would get. So if you would like to watch my Walking Dead journey, you can see my TikTok. Let me find what my name is. I don't even know. I don't ever plug my stuff, so I don't ever know what I'm.
Well, you should have been prepared. You knew you were coming on the show.
I don't think about things. It is CB Duke 22. There's a little picture of me. Oh, you can't see it with this lighting. Oh well. Anyway.
Well, I was giving you. You want to try again?
Okay.
Look at how cute.
Got it. Everyone pause right here. Well, on the replay, not right this
Follow my friend.
So,
she's awesome.
It's mainly just me ranting about what I think about The Walking Dead. But like I said, I told Kaylee the first one I posted just for Kaylee to watch my reactions and my other friends that have seen it to watch my reactions. And I woke up to like 800, 900 views the next day. So I've just been continuing to post and see what happens. So y'all go watch them.
I'm still trying to get on TikTok.
Girl reacts to Walking Dead.
That is actually the subtitle on all content creation on the internet. I'm just putting my reactions up and seeing what happens.
Right, yeah.
All right, Morgan, aka Teaching Disney, tell us what you have coming up and about your channel really quick. And Tim and Katie and Morgan's channel are linked in the description box. I didn't know I'd be plugging Cassie's TikTok, but it will be added.
So I'm Teaching Disney on YouTube. I am Teaching Disney on TikTok. And on Instagram, I am MorgieB789. Not spelled probably the way you're thinking, but like B, like the B. And on my channel, I have, oh my gosh, what do I have coming up? I have so much. My stuff, if any of you don't know, I just recently moved to Florida. And after a month, almost 2 months of sleeping on the floor, I finally have my stuff. It's finally here. So I have I have tons of haul content. I have my moving vlog that will come out. I have a Halloween ear swap that's coming out next week. I think it's next week at least. And I just have a lot going on. I also started a personal shopping business. So if you're interested in that, there's a Facebook group. It's called Teaching Disney Personal Shopping. Let me know what you want, especially with all this 50th merch coming out. It's insane right now. But yeah, that's kind of everything I'm doing. I'm going to have teaching vlogs coming out soon too. So yeah, just a lot.
Yeah, and I think I'm actually in the Halloween ear swap that you're in. So yes. October 1st, right? Is that the one? No? So. Yes. Okay. Probably the same one. All right. And then there are my friends, Tim and Katie from the channel, Tim and Katie. So go ahead, you guys. What's coming up? I think I know, but
do you? You might be remotely aware. So it is spooky season, which means we're going to a lot of haunts. We just today posted our first entry in, I guess, spookable blogs from Field of Screams, Pennsylvania, which we do not live in Orlando, so we are more local to things like that. Busch Gardens, Hallow Scream, we went to that last weekend, and the vlog will be coming next week. And by the time that vlog drops, we will be in Florida at Halloween Horror Nights with our friend Kaylee. So we are going to SeaWorld's Hallow Scream and Universal's Halloween Horror Nights, both for the first time. Well, SeaWorld's event is brand spanking new, so it's everyone's first time.
They're advertising for scarers still.
Oh, yeah. It's, I think, Kaylee's first ever haunt, just period across the board.
Cassidy, so. Are you shocked that I'm going?
Honestly, when she told me she was going, I was like, not the Kaylee that I know. Never, ever. Because I've begged her for years to even watch a scary movie with me, go to a haunted house, like one of those haunted hay rides. Not about it. She does not want to go.
We're going to tee her up for you, Cassidy. By the time she comes home, she's going to be immortal. You could take her through any haunted house in the nation.
I want to so bad. I wish she would go with me because I think her reaction would be hilarious.
I know, because literally I thought when y'all invited me and I said yes, I was like, oh my gosh, all my friends are going to be like, what the heck? Because Cassidy's literally probably invited me for years and I always said no. And here I am. I was like, surprise!
Luckily for you, at Halloween Horror Nights, you can't film inside, at least in Orlando, you can't film inside the houses. But at SeaWorld, in Hollywood, you can, Morgan. You cannot in Orlando. They are very strict.
No, Theme Park Express filmed.
He's a media guest. They invited super enthused Theme Park Express.
They don't let 500 subscriber people film in their house.
You can try it. I'm just warning you. You will get kicked out of the house in a second there.
Because I know they won't let you film if you have flash. You can't film if you have flash, but my camera has night vision.
More power to you.
I'm just going to put it out there.
Inside
but they do
for anyone who is watching, this is bad advice.
Hallow Scream and SeaWorld, they let you film. They have the rule. The rule is you can film, just no flash.
Yeah.
So we are getting Kaylee's reactions at Hallow Scream on film.
I know.
I'm so excited.
It's exciting. Okay, so I guess I should do what I have coming up and then we will end it. It went a little over, but that is okay. So I'm Kaylee, aka Phantasmic Fandoms, and I do have a reaction video for Avengers coming out. I did already obviously film it and I'm editing it, but I've had a lot going on. But I'm excited. It's going to be coming out soon. And then obviously, like Tim and Katie mentioned, we're going on our little adventure, which I'm really excited to have some content for that. Also just to experience it. But I got some more reaction videos coming up. And like Morgan said, we have a Halloween ear swap coming up, which I found out who I got my ears from. And I am so excited. It's someone that you all know, but I'm really excited. So yeah, a lot of content coming up. Like I said, I have Morgan and Tim and Katie's links down below. And if you want to be nice and subscribe to me, then you can easily. And Cassidy's TikTok will be added, but she's rocking it with those Walking Dead videos.
Perfect timing too, Cassidy, with Halloween coming.
Yeah, it really is, honestly.
It is.
It is, honestly. Well, thank you all for joining me here on screen. And thanks for everyone that popped into the chat. I really appreciate it. And we will see y'all for the next Marvel chat. Bye.